Hello everybody, welcome back to another brand new video, that being another good old anime review. Today we will be covering Dandadan Season 1, which has taken the anime community by quite a storm this quarter of 2024. I actually started watching Dandadan during week 2 of its run because a friend told me to watch it, so it was something that I went into completely blind, and wow, what a show to do this for, because it is absolutely unhinged in the best way possible. The Dandadan manga is written by Yukinobu Tatsu, who was an assistant for a time with Fujimoto on Chainsaw Man, and yeah, you can very much tell that this is somebody who shares the outrageous creativity of one Tatsuki Fujimoto. Anyways, I'm going to be bringing back my color rankings for my reviews of episodic television. It's the easiest way for me to rate episodes, and I'll give the season as a whole a number score at the end of the video. If you are unfamiliar with my color rankings, here's a quick little explanation. Purple is peak fiction, 10 out of 10s, reserved for my absolute favorites. Blue is right under that, it's amazing with minuscule issues. Cyan is pretty good, I had fun, some slight issues. Green, good, has some problems. Yellow is okay, average with some questionable moments. Orange is just bad, and red is utter garbage. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let's hop into the review with the series premiere. That's How Love Starts, You Know, is an incredible premiere episode. This is one of the most effective premieres I've seen on my anime journey so far. It establishes the show's tone of batshit insane action along with its heartfelt characters. We meet Momo and Okarun for the first time, and they're both great little characters, and we learn a lot more about them in this premiere than you'd normally see in an anime like this, yet the pacing of the episode never slows or falters. Momo and Okarun's first scene together of them arguing is gold, with lots of little funny moments. Momo ends up sending Okarun to a famous haunted tunnel where he gets possessed by Turbo Granny, and Okarun sends Momo to a UFO hotspot where she is abducted by the Serpo. We get to see cursed Okarun in action for the first time, and he gets bodied, leading Momo to unlock her chi and her psychic powers that she uses to whoop the aliens. The animation here is just gorgeous, by the way, and that remains true for the entire season. Something Science Saru does that really makes this adaptation pop is its use of color, most prominent during the action sequences, which always have a distinct color filter over them to reflect the themes and/or motives of the enemy, and to also distinguish the action set pieces from one another. This episode's ending, however, is probably a top 3 moment of the show for me, and one of those moments that is massively elevated from the original source material. The moment of Okarun telling Momo that his real name is Ken Takakura as the music hits and the spaceship blows up behind her to end the episode is not only an iconic shot that went on to be the Netflix icon, but the perfect capstone on this episode. It was after this moment that I knew that I was in for a good show that really cares about its adaptation and very much respects the source material. A fantastic start for the show. That's a Space Alien, Ain't It? Is a solid follow-up episode, but it doesn't quite reach its predecessor. The first 10 minutes of this episode is a solid little break as we build up the relationship between Momo and Okarun. There's some funny moments like them attempting to walk into Momo's place only for Okarun to be set ablaze by the talisman. It's also made even better when you realize that this bit actually comes back when they defeat the alien later on. Speaking of, the action sequence here is another solid one. We get a black and white filter for this one, and it really works for Okarun in particular because when he transforms into his cursed form to go all out, the red really pops with the dulled background filter and it looks badass. Okarun's all-out form is also genuinely the funniest thing in the show. His nonchalant voice inflection is perfect for comedic moments and is performed incredibly by AJ Beckles.
My head's clear as hell, but yo, I'm bummed AF.
Why are you talking like that?
Momo's plan to defeat the alien is a great little character moment for her, and it's also a unique way to defeat the alien, and I love when shows consistently create fun ways to defeat enemies instead of just punching it to death, and that is something this show is very good at. Once again for me though, the final scene of the episode is the best scene of the episode. Momo faints, and because she's no longer awake to keep Okarun's curse in check, he transforms to end the episode, and this transformation is animated so beautifully. The way his glasses drop into the frame and slightly magnify Momo is such a minor detail, but the fact that it's there just goes to show how much love and care was put into this, and it makes the scene just that little bit better. It's a Granny vs. Granny clash is solid, but easily the weakest episode thus far. Not that that's a diss in any way. This episode kicks off in exciting fashion with the title's Granny vs. Granny clash. We finally meet Momo's grandma, Seiko, and she kicks Turbo Granny's ass and shows off her skills to the audience. It's also pretty funny when you think that she's gonna be really OP, and then for the rest of the season, she just takes a back seat and sends Momo and Okarun on their wacky adventures. I also like how this episode takes something as stupid as Okarun needing to use the bathroom and turns it into a learning moment for Momo as she tries to improve her powers. But overall, I don't have a lot to say about this one. It's just a well done episode that consists mostly of character growth and world building. Kicking Turbo Granny's ass is a great action episode, and it wraps up the little Turbo Granny arc as Momo and Okarun attempt to defeat her. They first try to challenge her to a race, but Turbo Granny cheats and almost has them dead to rights then and there, but they escape, and it leads to the best directed action scene of the show. The animation here is ridiculous, and the choice to play a William Tell Overture remix over it is something that I never knew I needed. The music this entire episode in general is just popping off. I adore the track that plays as soon as Momo latches onto the train and begins the final phase of the plan to defeat Turbo Granny. They successfully lure her out of the city and free Okarun, or so we think. This episode ends with the cute moment of Okarun and Momo saying they'll see each other tomorrow, and it puts a nice little bow on this first little arc of the show. Like, Where Are Your Balls is the perfect breather episode. Nothing crazy happens in this one, but it does so much for character growth, setup for future events, and world building. The first good chunk of the episode is spent following Momo and Okarun around as they are desperate to be around one another and talk to each other, and it's perfectly fine. I think it goes on a bit too long, but it's done well, so I don't mind that much. Momo's two friends are on fire in this episode. They're the best recurring minor characters. Every time they're on screen, they have at least one line that gets a laugh out of me. This episode also introduces us to Ira, who is my favorite character of Dandadan so far. She's completely unhinged, and every scene with her is hilarious. She teases Okarun for being a nerd, which isn't that funny, but she gets her karma when Momo drops a wash bin on her head for the KO shot. This episode ends with us learning that Okarun's balls are gone, which then leads to the moment of Momo taking Turbo Granny out of Okarun and into the Cat Doll. And Cat Doll Turbo Granny is another character that's just really funny. The idea of taking this menacing villain that we've seen throughout the show so far and putting her in a cat doll and then making her walk around with the protagonists was a fantastic idea. A Dangerous Woman Arrives is a great episode. This one begins with a Flock jump scare as he inquires with Okarun about Momo and how easy she is. Okarun responds accordingly by putting the fear of God into this man. And by the way, this goofy shot of these two running is just a shot I like, so I thought I should mention it. But anyways, this episode is peak Ira hours. Her monologue in this episode is so unhinged, and the best way to get a look into her view of the world.
So in order to get back at that bitch, I started a rumor she's a slut.
We find out that Ira is in possession of one of Okarun's balls, and it's given her the ability to see spirits. Because of this, she's also able to see Momo's psychic ghost hands, and she thinks that Momo is a demon. She plans to exorcise her or something. She's completely crazy, and we get this goofy moment of her signing to her friends. Ira lures Momo into an abandoned warehouse, and her plan begins without a hitch as she gets Momo down and starts spouting off mumbo jumbo before Acro Silky jumps into the fray with her pink filter. Side note, I love this pink filter. I think it not only looks the best, but it also fits the themes of love with Acro Silky the most out of all the different colors and creatures we get. Silky goes on a swallowing spree, leading to Momo setting Silky on fire from within her stomach using Ira's cross lighter, letting Turbo Granny strike a pose to end this really fun episode. Surely the next episode will be just as fun, right? To a Kinder World is the best episode of the show so far, and it's really not even close. You can tell from the opening 10 seconds that this episode is gonna have the sauce. The first half of this episode is pretty standard. The battle with Acro Silky wraps up, and you think everything is gonna be just fine when it's revealed that Ira is dead. Turbo Granny gives no fucks and just sits on the phone yapping instead of offering any help. That's when Acro Silky stands up and offers up her life to save Ira's. We then go into an extended flashback of Acro Silky's human life, and it is so sad. This could feel like tonal whiplash, and it is to an extent for a goofy show like this, but in execution it is performed really well, and it doesn't ruin the tone at all. The scene of Silky's daughter getting taken away is heartbreaking, but the scene of her running around in the rain is even worse. I've never seen a POV shot in this vein in anime before, but here it is done very well. It captures the frantic and desperate nature of Silky in this moment, which helps add more emotion. After that, we get the dancing scene, which ends with Silky's suicide. The shot of her falling as the background shifts is such a cool shot. It just sucks that the context behind it is the saddest shit in the world. And as if the backstory wasn't sad enough, we now get the context behind Acro Silky's love for Ira. It came when Ira accidentally walked up to Silky and called her mom, and the moment where Silky reaches out her hand as baby Ira walks away is the moment that breaks me the most. It got a tear out of me for sure. Back in the present, Ira is back from the dead, and as Silky begins to fade away, Turbo Granny explains how she's gonna head into the void, and whether she's at peace or not is up to her. Ira hears this and gives Silky a hug and tells her she loves her, telling her exactly what she wants to hear in this moment, sending her off in peace. Not only is this a great ending to the episode, but a fantastic character moment for Ira, showing that she has a heart and is a good person deep down, which is something we hadn't seen yet. This episode has it all and could move up to a purple with time and more viewings. I've Got This Funny Feeling is okay. This episode begins with a big dialogue scene between Momo and Ira, but they're eating while talking and it's excruciating for me to listen to personally. Turbo Granny pitches Okaroon's ball right back into him and it's off to school for some more breather content. Ira now has a crush on Okaroon, and she tries to kiss him using advice from her dad's adult magazine collection, which is a really funny gag. However, it all goes wrong when Momo stumbles across the two of them in an unflattering position for Okaroon. Our trio ends up getting trapped inside the school a little later to kick off our next creature feature. Momo has an encounter with Nessie and her green lightsaber beam, whereas Ira and Okaroon have an encounter with the Mantis Boxer alien, and with him brings the piss filter. Yeah, I like the colors and all, but this filter in particular is not it. I'm interested down below if anybody has an explanation as for why yellow could be thematically relevant to the Serpo or the Mantis Shrimp, or if they just chose yellow and it looked bad. The episode ends, however, with Ira's transformation into Acro Silky, which is a fun little reveal and a nice cliffhanger to end this one on. Merge Soper Dover Demon Nessie, crazy episode title, is also a conflicting episode for me. I think it's good, but by far the weakest action episode. This episode feels very long. Like it feels noticeably longer than the other episodes without that being the actual case. I feel like that comes down to pacing issues, which is strange because this episode actually blows through a lot in a short time span, yet it feels very long. First chunk of this episode wraps up the piss filter, Momo reunites with Okaroon and Ira and they work together. There's a fun gag where somebody mentions Ken Takakura, causing Momo to lose her hold on Okaroon and Ira, which is pretty funny. But this episode really picks up once Nessie comes into the fray and introduces the green filter, which I really like the look of. Okaroon's reaction to Nessie and Ira's reaction to Okaroon's reaction are both really cute moments. In the heat of battle, we actually get a really well-written conversation between Momo and Okaroon where they briefly discuss the events of the previous episode where Momo caught Okaroon with Ira. The three then defeat Nessie by working together, which is corny, yeah, but something I really like that they did. And with this final stand from our trio, we get lots of cool impact frames, which was also a nice touch. Then, of course, we get the infamous ending of this episode where the three end up back in school half naked and just straight up naked in Okaroon's case, which is an outrageous but funny ending to this episode. Have you ever seen a cattle mutilation is perfectly fine. I really like the first half of this episode and don't care much for the back half. This one begins with the BDSM nurse, which is a Fujimoto character if I've ever seen one. We get some nice important conversations between Momo, Ira, and Okaroon, and that leads us to the return of Momo's friends who give us the episode's funniest scene. The fact that they brought in this red transparent sheet to add dramatic lighting to their presentation kills me. After that, we check in with Ira. She does her meme face, but tells her classmates that this wasn't Momo's fault. Another fantastic character moment for Ira, once again showing us that she has a heart and is a good person deep down. We then get to the second half of this episode, which begins with them finding the Mantis Shrimp alien and bringing him in. We get another goofy dinner scene, but it's at this point that these scenes start to get a bit old for me. It's just goofy breather content, which is fine, but I wish they found a more unique way to do it, because this is our 4th or 5th dinner scene in just 10 episodes. Anyways, our gang goes on a little side quest for the Mantis, finding out his blood is milk and giving him a cow to take home so he can save his son. The scene of the UFO beaming up the cow is funny and looks great, and this episode ends with the introduction of Gigi, Momo's first crush, much to the chagrin of Okaroon. First Love is another perfectly fine episode. This is another one that has some fun moments but peters off in others. Gigi's introduction is funny, and I like the beginning of Okarun's one-sided beef with him as he's jealous of him being Momo's first crush. The talk with Gigi and Momo in the kitchen is good and gives us our first little insight into Gigi. Funniest part of the episode once again lands with Momo's friends. I love their switch up on Gigi, one thinking he's cringe until he calls her a hottie, and the other one just being a ride or die for Okarun and telling Gigi that Momo's taken. The second half of this episode revolves around this mannequin chase scene, with that mannequin being voiced by Gojo's voice actor, by the way, which makes this even more outrageous. I'm a bit disappointed with this scene. I'm not a fan of them doubling down on using the William Tell Overture remix again here. It was a great idea the first time during the high-stakes Turbo Granny chase, but using it again on such a lesser scene to try and recapture some of that magic, it just doesn't work for me. I do like the ending of this episode, though. The two mannequins reunite and start professing their love for one another, and this helps Okarun realize how in love with Momo he is. And this is a nice little subtle character moment for him that comes across well without him having to speak a single line of dialogue. Our final episode of Season 1, Let's Go to the Cursed House, is another perfectly fine episode. Because this episode is the finale, I think it suffers a bit from being underwhelming. The first third of this episode wraps up the little mannequin subplot, and it's fine. This is one of those plot lines that I don't care for. It's not bad, it's not great, it's just fine. This finale serves mostly as a setup for Season 2, and we end on two separate cliffhangers, one for Momo and one for Gigi and Okarun. The three of them set off to help exorcise Gigi's house, and along the way we get some more classic funny Dan-to-Dan conversations, with Gigi mentioning the D's nuts meme, which is something that is just insane to me.
Oh, because I totally thought it was like that one meme. These nuts!
I find the talk between the trio on the train to be the best part of the episode, as it helps Okarun and Gigi grow, but I feel like these last 3 episodes of the season meander a bit more than they should, and it leaves the season's end to feel a bit more meh than it should. But that has been my review of Dan-to-Dan Season 1. Although I think the last 3 episodes peter off, I think Dan-to-Dan has been an electrifying and fantastic adaptation throughout its first 12-week run. And with so many fun moments and creative decisions to speak of, I'll be back here next year to talk about Season 2. But for now, I'd give Dan-to-Dan Season 1 a 7.5 out of 10. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down below what you all thought of Dan-to-Dan Season 1. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Drop a like on the video and subscribe for more content like this. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day.